What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? This is Cyrus here, bringing you the third episode of Free to Play Friday, where we check out free to play games because the best games are always free. So, today we're going to be looking at Path of Exile, a game put out there by Grinding Gear Games. That's right, GGG. So if you ever come up against one of them and it's a good game, you're going to say GG, GGG. Anyway, that was silly, but let's get down to it. This is an action RPG. It is similar to Diablo. I guess you could call it a Diablo clone if you so would choose, but I think this takes like what people were hoping Diablo 3 may be and just like improving it on in all aspects essentially. I've not been playing the game for very long. Open beta just started as of me recording this video today, so actually only a couple hours ago. So it's still very early on as far as open beta is concerned, and so things are subject to change as always. So let's get into it. First off, we're going to talk about character creation. Basically, you're going to be choosing classes. The way it works, there are three basic classes, distinct classes, and then there are three that sort of go in between those first three. So there's six altogether. Basically, if you have an intelligence, a dexterity, and a strength, right? Those are your three main classes. And then you have one that would be intelligence and strength, one that would be intelligence and dexterity, and one that would be dexterity and strength. So that's how the six classes sort of work together. And so you're not actually creating a character, you're picking a class. That guy comes he comes with the clothes he's wearing or whatever the weapon he has to start with, blah, blah, blah. It's all sort of picked out for you. You can't customize features in your face or your color of your clothes and all that kind of good stuff that we do see in some other games. This is pretty straightforward. Pick your class and you go. Tutorial wise, I haven't really noticed much. They do kind of walk you through easily the first beginning parts, sort of get you acclimated to things. Apart from what I could tell, of course this is still beta, they pretty much throw you in there. You know, there's no tutorial to really help you understand what's going on. It's not too difficult to start with. The more complex things will be coming later, and they do get complex, trust me. Now this is going to be subject to quite a debate. The first time I saw the graphics when I logged in and first started playing, I was the teensiest bit disappointed. And I'm not really sure why. It's a free-to-play game that's been in development for over 6 years. So it's running on an engine, essentially, that's at least 6 years old. And there's only so many ways and times that you can tweak and upgrade an engine and make it look prettier and all this stuff. That being said, from the way that the game looks when you first log in, you know, it only gets better from there. The particle effects, the spell effects, and everything I think are amazing in the game. You just have to get over the initial first look where you're like, oh, this kind of reminds me of D2 beefed up quite a bit. But I do not mind whatsoever the look of the game. At first I thought I might. That definitely has been a non-issue though so far. So graphics, I definitely give a thumbs up to. Free-to-play game. You know, just keep that in mind. It's not going to be as, quote, pretty as Diablo, but trust me, it makes up for it in every other possible imaginable way. Moving on to controls. You're going to be controlling your character using the left mouse button. That's what you're going to be moving around with. Now, this, playing from Diablo and other games similar, it's, you know, you got the usual top-down view. Obviously, you're clicking around with your left mouse. And that's going to be your basic attack also. Other than that, you can also bind certain skills to your right mouse button, to your middle mouse button, and also to Q, W, E, R, T. Then also you're going to be using 1 through 5 are your default for your potions. And the way potions work are actually, you could have 4 life potions and a mana potion, and they regenerate as you're fighting more monsters. You could have 1 life potion and 4 mana potions if you want, but that seems kind of crazy. But anyway, so that's how that works. Moving on, questing seems to work in, for the most part, a fairly open world setting. I have seen players running around while we were doing quests and things, so I'm sure there's instances when you go into certain dungeons and this stuff, and you can enter in friends' instances with, they call them maps, which are versions of instances that are specific to that map that you have. So you could have a certain map and your friend has another map, and you could go to his map and he could go to yours, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. The combat is pretty basic for this style of game. You know, you've got your range, you've got your melee, you got your magic and your hunter, this kind of things, and you're clicking around, using your spells, using the mouse to aim your skill shots and your AoE spells as to where you will be, you know, aiming them at monsters and all that kind of great stuff. And for PvP, there is definitely going to be open world PvP. That's something that is going to be a big part of the game. Once you are past a certain point, you'll be basically flagged for PvP, and someone can pretty much come up to you, kill you, and take your stuff. That sounds pretty intriguing to me. So you'll be questing and going around doing stuff, and you'll also possibly have to fight off other players. And from what I understand, and I don't know if this is in all the different modes of the game, but maybe this could just be hardcore or some other type of mode, where other players can actually join your instance that you're in and come and kill you and take your loot and bail, which I think sounds incredibly fun, even though I guess it could be definitely frustrating for the person on the wrong end of that. But PvE is, as we went over, questing, open world, stuff like that, so you're going to be interacting with players as you're doing PvE. So the PvE, PvP can be kind of mixed in together. Of course, you can party up with friends to be able to tackle various quests and mobs and bosses and all that kind of great stuff. And I do believe that, from what I noticed, questing or partying up doesn't seem to raise the difficulty level quite high enough yet. It seems to get quite easy when you're together. Now, this is of course all on normal mode still, so other levels obviously will be more complex and more difficult as they go. The UI is pretty basic, pretty standard. It looks similar to a Diablo UI. You've got your skills, and you've got your health, and you've got your mana, and your whatever your energy source is, and those nice little globes. The mini map is fairly sad. This is where something that maybe they will work on. I don't know. The mini map and also the regular map are very crude. It doesn't really bother me, but it's something that thinking that maybe they will work on before the game is actually open for release. So the funness level of this game is quite high. I would have to say I have had a lot of fun in the amount of time I've spent with this game. I have played it a little bit solo. I have played it a little bit with friends, and it's very fun. It's weird if you just, you know, even at the very beginning when things aren't even that difficult or that complex yet, it's just a lot of fun. It seems more fun than other similar games that I have played and gotten bored with fairly quickly. It seems like this one may hold my attention for quite a bit longer than some other game that will remain nameless. So as far as for competitive PvP or competitive PvE, I'm not really all sure what the plans are from Grinding Gear Games. I'm sure they're going to have ladders and stuff, and they have been keeping track of who's leveling the fastest. As I saw when I was playing, you would see such and such has reached level such and such first, or whatever. So that kind of stuff, I would imagine there'd be leaderboards and everything that will be keeping track of that kind of stuff, and hopefully there will be the same such leaderboards for PvP as well, keeping track of player kills and how much, how long you've lived with a certain character, especially in hardcore mode, and how many characters you've killed and all that kind of good stuff. As far as like instance PvP, I'm not sure if they're planning on doing anything like that. I haven't heard. That could be pretty fun too, like some sort of deathmatch type of thing, something that we appears will not be getting in a certain other game, which will also remain nameless once again. Anyhow, balance seems to be pretty decent. Of course, it seems like melee is going to be doing more damage when they can get to the target. Just flat damage. Melee, of course, has to have a little bit more of a boost if they can stick on the target. Otherwise, there's no reason to really be melee. You know, they have to be a little bit beefier also to take hits as melee. So it makes sense for them to be able to do a little bit more damage if they can stick to their targets consistently, which is what it seems to be in this game. That melee, you know, can do a little bit more damage per spell or hit or whatever you want to call it than someone that can just stand back off on the other side of the screen launching fireballs or arrows or whatever. Shouldn't be able to do as much damage as someone that has to get up in your face and actually take hits to be able to put hits out. So that doesn't bother me at all. Also, another question is the game pay to win? Definitely, this game is not pay to win, because the only things that are available so far that I've seen in the cash shop are all aesthetic items. Something that makes your weapon glow a certain other color, something that makes your weapon look like something else beyond just a color, but other skins and stuff like that are what I've seen mostly in the cash shop. Nothing that's going to be giving you some godly weapon that's going to make your damage so crazy high. Nothing like that. So the game definitely is shying away from being pay to win, which is very nice because I can't stand when games do that. And this game's free to play, and it's free as long as you don't want to have your character look freaking awesome. But that being said, the game itself, you can tell, purposefully gives you fairly bland looking armor, at least in the beginning. I'm sure the end game armor is going to look much nicer, or at least somewhat nicer, but you can tell from the start that they're keeping the graphics of the artwork of the armor and of the weapons fairly low key, I think, to encourage players to want to customize it a little bit more and wanting to put in those microtransactions to be able to do that. And I have no problem with, because hey, they need to make money, right? I mean, they spent a long time working up this game and they deserve it, right? So another thing we need to get into here is the absolute depth of the game, which is quite ridiculous. Now, what you use to cast your spells and use your abilities are gems. Gems are stuff that are put into gem slots, which can be found on gear, weapons, that sort of stuff. And depending on what type of gem it is, it may have a magical spell, it may have a melee type ability, or it could also be a support gem. So basically what it could be is if you have a gem that is for a fireball spell, you put that gem into your weapon and now you can hit the key binding and you will shoot a fireball. And if you have a support gem with that gives multi-shot, you put that with the fireball gem and then you're able to shoot out multiple fireballs, which is pretty cool. And another thing that happens is the gems level up as they're in your gear and you're using them. The gems level, and once they get to a certain point where they've gained enough experience to level, you can choose to level them up or not to. And the only reason you wouldn't is because they do become more powerful, but also you have to spend more mana to use them, or the attributes needed to be able to use them become higher, the requirements. So that's the only downside to leveling your gems. The other thing is your passive skill tree. Now this is actually a big, huge skill tree that's shared by all 6 classes, although they start at different areas on the tree. And so this thing is crazy. Added to all the gems that you can get and all the combinations of gems you can get, this passive tree creates an absolute amazingly high amount of different builds and specs and just ways to customize your character to be able to do whatever you see fit, which is just awesome. This is one of the things I absolutely love about the game, is the fact that you can just totally tweak your character to however you see fit. and be able to, hey, if you're strength but you want to go into this other area and pick up something, so you're more of a hybrid, or you can go, if you are a witch, you can go to like a zombie raising, skeleton raising, so you've got your own ads that go around with you and fight for you, to also like frost magic, to fire magic. You can be freezing foes or burning foes. You can freeze them in place and then send your minions after them. That kind of, it's just like there's all kinds of things that you can do, and it just means that no two players, literally, I mean, unless someone's copying someone else's build, no two players are likely to be exactly the same. It's that crazy how complex it can be. So in conclusion, for this game, I would say it's definitely a lot of fun. If you can get past the initial look of the graphics, which if you're watching this video and you aren't feeling that the graphics are terrible, they're just slightly dated, that's all. And like I said, the spell effects and everything are so pretty and stuff. You're not even looking at the other stuff. And so if you can get past that, it's a very fun, very complex, very deep game that's actually really easy to pick up if you're used to similar games. It's not hard at all to pick up, but the in-depthness of the passive skill tree and all the gems and stuff that you can combine and use are very cool for this game. And another thing I didn't mention was there's no real currency in the game, but all items can be used in bartering with either NPCs or other players. So you're not going to have just like gold. Oh, I got to have gold to be able to buy this. Well, you can trade this piece of armor and you might get something in return that you can then trade to another player to get something, stuff like that. So that's just another thing in the game that creates a cool atmosphere of being able to barter, which I think is fun also. So bottom line, definitely check it out. If the graphics don't put you off right away, I don't think you will be disappointed by checking this game out and at least spending some time and seeing how you like it. Alright, so guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If there are any other games, up-and-coming games that you would like to see on Free-to-Play Friday, leave them in the comments so that way we can check them out and maybe you'll see it on next week's Free-to-Play Friday. And also remember to subscribe. That's right, if you would like to be alerted every Friday. I don't know why, but hey, it just looks cool to have more subscribers. Even though it's going to be every Friday, why not just hit the subscribe button? Hey, it's just going to take an extra second out of your day, and then you'll be sure to know when we are uploading things. Other than that, have a great day, and remember, stay nerdy, my friends.